Hi everyone, welcome to Technology World Hub. My name is Anil. In the last series, I discussed top 50 Selenium SDET interview questions and answers. In this series, I am going to discuss another advanced 50 Selenium SDET interview questions and answers. I highly recommend whoever not attend the last series, please go back and see the series. Let's continue for today's series. So in this series, we are going to discuss from 51 to 100, 50 plus advanced real-world SDET Selenium scenario questions. These are focused on frameworks, CI/CD, BDD, microservices, hybrid frameworks, Docker, API, and advanced Java. Ideal for senior SDET interviews. In the first section, frameworks and design patterns. First question, what is hybrid framework? Combines keyword-driven and data-driven approaches. Allows flexibility and reusability of test scripts. Next question, difference between data-driven, keyword-driven and hybrid-driven frameworks. Data-driven. Test data in Excel or DB drives the test flow. Keyword-driven. Keywords in Excel define steps. Hybrid. Combines both for flexibility. Next question, what is BDD? Behavior Driven Development. BDD focuses on business readable scenarios. Uses Gherkin syntax, that is given, when, then. Tools Cucumber JBehav. Next question, how do you integrate Selenium with Cucumber? Create feature files with .feature. Step definitions link Gherkin steps to Java code. Use TestNG or JUnit runner for execution. One second. Next question. What is page object model versus page factory? Page object model. Manual element initialization. Page factory. Uses @find by annotations for element initialization. Next question. How do you implement a reusable method in a framework? Utility classes for wait, screenshot, logging, navigation, API calls, etc. How do you manage configuration files in a Selenium framework? Use config.properties or YAML files. Load them via properties class in Java. Next question, how do we implement logging in Selenium? Use log4j2 or slf4j. Logger log is equal to log manager.getLogger, class name.class, log.info, test started. That's how you write down the logs. Next question, how do you implement reporting? TestNG HTML reports, extend reports, allow reports. Next question, how do you implement cross-browser testing in Selenium? Use WebDriver factory to initiate browser dynamically. Use Selenium Grid or cloud services, that is Browser Stack or SaaS Labs. Next session, advanced Selenium or real scenarios. How do you handle dynamic XPath when ID or name changes frequently? Use contains, start with, ends with. Use relative XPath instead of absolute. Next question, how do you handle elements that appear after scrolling? Use JavaScript executor. For example, JavaScript executor of driver.execute script arguments of 0 dot scroll into view true element. Next question, how do you handle hidden elements or elements with display colon none? Use JavaScript executor to get text content or inner text. Example, string text is equal to JavaScript executor of driver.execute script return arguments of 0 dot inner text comma element dot toString, so that you will convert it into string. How do you handle shadow DOM elements? Selenium 4 supports get shadow root. Web element shadow host is equal to driver.findElement by.css selector shadow host. Search context shadow root is equal to shadow host dot get shadow root. Web element shadow root dot find element by dot css selector dot child. Okay. Next question, how do you handle auto suggestions in search fields? Send text, wait for suggestion list, iterate suggestions, click matching value. How do you handle multiple tabs or windows? Use get window handles and switch to dot window. Next question, how do you handle nested frames? Switch sequentially using switch to dot frame. Return to main content with driver.switch to dot default content. Next question, how do you handle drag and drop in Selenium? Using actions class. Actions is equal to new actions of driver action dot drag and drop source target dot build dot perform. How do you handle right click context menus? Actions is equal to new actions of driver action dot context click of element dot perform. Next question, how do you handle mouse hover? Action is equal to new actions of driver action dot move to element dot perform. Okay. Next question, that is basically next section, API plus Selenium integration. How do you use Selenium with API testing? Example, use API call to create test data, validate via using Selenium. Next question, how do you validate API response in JSON using Java? Use REST assured and JSON path. String id is equal to response.json path.getString data.id. Next question, how do you validate status code and response time in APIs? Response.then.status code 200.time matchers dot less than 2000 L. Okay. How do you chain API and UI tests? API creates updates data. Selenium validates data on UI. Next question, how do you handle authentication APIs, bearer or basic? Use REST assured header, given.header authorization bearer token .when.get / endpoint. How do you get CRUD operations? Post, create, get, read, put or patch, update, delete. Next question, how do you handle dynamic IDs in API response for Selenium verification? Extract ID via JSON path, use in Selenium test. Extract ID via JSON path, use in Selenium test. Perfect. How do you validate XML response? Use XML path in REST assured. Okay. Next question. How do you test APIs for performance? Measure response time, integrate with JMeter or Gatling for load testing. How do you test negative scenarios in APIs? Send invalid payload, check proper error code and message. Next section, CI/CD, Jenkins, Docker, Cloud. How do you run Selenium tests in Jenkins? Create Maven job, add TestNG suite, build triggers, post build reports. How do you handle parallel execution in Jenkins? Use TestNG, parallel is equal to test. Use Selenium Grid or Docker containers. How do you run Selenium tests in Docker? Dockerize Chrome or Firefox using Selenium Hub and Node images. Run tests inside container. Next question, how do you execute tests on cloud, browser stack or SOS labs? Provide remote WebDriver URL and capabilities. Next question, how do you schedule nightly builds for automation? Use Jenkins, cron expression, execute Maven goal. How do you integrate Selenium with Git? Push code to repository, Jenkins pulls, executes tests. How do you manage test data for CI/CD? Use APIs, DB scripts or Excel JSON files. Next question, how do you generate dynamic reports in CI/CD? Use extend reports, alert reports or TestNG listeners. Next question, how do you handle flaky tests in CI/CD? Retry failed tests using TestNG retry analyzer and investigate root cause. Next series or next section, Advanced Java plus coding. Difference between abstract class and interface. Abstract can have concrete and abstract methods. Interface, Java 8 Plus supports default and static methods. Next question, difference between hash map and concurrent hash map. Hash map, non-thread safe. Concurrent hash map, thread safe. Next question, difference between list, set, map. List, order, duplicates allowed. Set, unordered, no duplicates allowed. Map, key value pair. Difference between equal to operator and dot equal to method. Equal to operators compares references. Dot equals method compares compares content. Sorry. Dot equals compares content of the object mainly. How do you implement a retry mechanism in Java? Use retry analyzer in TestNG. Public class retry implements I retry analyzer. Int count is equal to 0, int max count is equal to 2, public boolean retry I test result if count less than max count or count plus return true, return false. Next question, how do you read Excel in Selenium framework? Apache PO library, XSF workbook or XSF sheet, XSF cell. Next question, how do you read or write JSON in Java? Use JSON or Jackson libraries. Next question, how do you implement dynamic weights using Java? Fluent weight or WebDriver weight with Lambda expressions. Next question, how do you implement singleton WebDriver in framework? Create private static WebDriver instance, return same instance. Next question, how do you implement environment specific configuration? Use config.properties or environment variables, load dynamically. So this set covers all real world scenarios, framework design, API integration, cloud CI/CD, advanced Selenium, and Java coding concepts. Everything a senior SDT interview would expect. That's it, guys, for this session. I will come up with some new series. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Please like it, subscribe it, share with your friends and family. Thank you so much, guys.